Welcome to another video, and in this video we'll be looking at the US elections impact on the forex market. As we all know, this is the biggest fundamental event on the US dollar currency, so it's going to affect the world at large and other currencies because the US dollar is the world's reserve currency. So whatever is going to happen after the elections is going to affect our currencies at large, the days or months to come in the long run. So I suggest you watch this video till the very end, as you may learn a thing or two. And furthermore, we're also going to backtest and see how the previous election that took place on the 8th of November 2016 and see how that played out and what we can expect with this current election, because as you all know, in the financial markets, history tends to repeat itself. So let's get into the video. Before we go any further, we're going to backtest and see what happened in the previous elections that took place in 2016, which were Donald Trump against Hillary Clinton. So we're going to see what happened and how it affected the market the day of Donald Trump came into power and the days that followed after. So we're going to look at a few pairs that I picked out. You can also do the same, choose your. Mostly it's going to be USD pairs. They're the ones that are going to be largely affected. So these are a couple of screenshots that I took, and let's dig deep and see what happened. So as you can see here on gold made this support zone weeks and weeks before the elections or so. So there was an obvious trend line here. Then as you can see, the volatility days, weeks and days before the election lessened because the market was uncertain who was going to win and all that. So once Donald Trump was elected as president, when he came into power, this is the new scandal that spiked. No one knew it was going to spike up or down. You can just be reactive to what happens to the market. And look at what happened. It was going down. So people that sold here were all taken out by this scandal. So this is the same scenario that can happen this time. But we just have to be reactive and be cautious of not being in trades the day the president is going to be announced, or even a day or two before. We can enter later. If this rejected, would have taken a sell here. Yes. So as you can see, the dollar became so strong after elections, hence bearish movement on gold. So this is the view on gold. You can see it was bearish here, and remember what I said, when gold is going bearish, that means the dollar is strong. This was in 2016, the results. So let's go to the next pair, which is Euro USD. The same thing on gold. Also, USD pairs move the same. So Euro USD had made this resistance zone, and it was going up days before the news, before the president released news, and 2 days before it was going down to induce sellers. And once the president was announced, it spiked up. This was about 300 to 400 pips. It's too big. I don't think anyone that had taken a sale here would have survived this, or even if you had taken from here, it would have still taken you on. So the best thing to do is wait and enter after. So this is what happened also in Euro USD. So let's go to the next pair, the dollar index, which is negatively correlated to Euro USD. So the opposite happened. The dollar, since the dollar became strong, it was bullish, broke above this important zone, went, it came down, retracing, then spiked this zone, then rejected, then continued its bullish movement. As you can see, this candle, the new candle, when Donald Trump came into power, it tapped into this zone, took out everyone that had bought and everyone that had been buying for all these days, then continued its bullish movement. And you can see the candles even became so big, the dollar became so strong days after the elections. So let's look at USD CHF. USD CHF was ranging for months since June 2018. Remember, these are old pictures that I'm going through. We're just backtesting, looking at the past, what happened in 2018 when the US elections were there. So USD CHF was ranging from June, July, August, September till November. And look at what happened when Trump was announced. The candle came, tapped into this support zone, rejected, then continued and broke above the zone it had been failing to break above since June. So this is what I'm talking about. The dollar became so strong once this guy came into power. So let's go to another pair, which is CHF JPY. I only picked this pair because CHF is a safe haven currency, so it's also going to be largely affected. But you can also just stick to dollar pairs, or even I think all forex pairs are going to be traded. Remember, the dollar is a reserve currency, so you can pick any, but for me I just picked mostly the USD pairs, then I added CHF because it's a safe haven currency. So you can see the Swiss franc Japanese yuan was failing to break above this zone. So it broke above the zone, then when the president was announced, it rejected, tapped into this zone, then continued its bullish movement. You can see it was just playing around this zone, then rejected, but apparently CHF became strong and USD CHF became strong. I don't know how that correlates, but sometimes pairs are not 100% correlated. Sometimes in certain instances, like or fundamental events like this, things might change, but both of them are bullish. We don't know why, but we just have to be reactive. So this was what happened to CHF. It became so strong days after the election. So let's go to NAS. As you can see on NAS is not a currency pair, but a stock index. And for those that don't know the stock indices, I did a short video on NAS. You can go watch it. I'll attach it in the link in the description below. So you can see NAS was ranging and was just consolidating. It had no proper direction. But the day the president was announced, it tapped this zone, triggered its, you can call it a stop hunt or whatever. It tapped this zone, rejected, closed above, then days later it continued now a strong bullish trend. Stocks started to appreciate and gain value, so much. Here they were just ranging, they were also failing to break above this zone. We can see here after this guy came into power, Nasdaq began a strong bullish trend, and since then it's just been going bullish. So the last pair we're going to look at is USD JPY, which is also the same as USD CHF and other USD pairs. You can also see USD JPY was ranging from June. It had no clear direction. And it opened the week with a gap. Then the day of the news, it rejected, went to the bottom, rejected, then broke above this zone. It was failing to break above June. So you can see the impact of the election. Sometimes the move is not instant, like there and then. Just after whoever is going to be announced this year on the 4th, you buy. No, sometimes it can take days for you to capitalize on it. You just need to mark out and analyze on higher time frame and see how the market will evolve. I'm not saying the exact thing will happen, but it's possible. Forex history tends to repeat itself. So now we're going to dig deep and look at the current price action, and I'm going to do a full technical analysis on 4 pairs that I've chosen, which are Euro USD, dollar index, gold, and USD JPY. I've only chosen, as you've noticed, I've only chosen USD pairs because they're the ones that are going to be largely affected. But in all forex pairs, in my opinion, are going to be affected in some way or the other. So just a quick look here. You can also see the presidential election with the polls. Joe Biden is leading, and Donald Trump is with 43.5, and Joe Biden is at 50.6. But this doesn't mean that Joe Biden will definitely win, because the polls they just give us a glimpse of what's happening and who's likely to win. So we're going to see how that's going to affect it. It might be different if Joe Biden wins than what happened, because last time, remember, it's Trump who won, and that's the volatility we expected. So this time there might be nothing, or there might be something, but we just have to be reactive and see what happens. So let's get into the technical analysis and see what's been happening. So we first zoom out. I'm on the monthly time frame. So as you can see, on the dollar index, we've had this trend line here where it's been finding support. This trend line here. You can zoom out. We're mostly focusing on the recent price action. We won't have to look back here and see or the things that happened in 2004. We just start from 2010, let's say. So we get this line. You can see it there. That's perfect. Then we can also see another zone here. There's this zone that I'm seeing here. There's this zone. If you look closely, this zone, it keeps on tapping this zone, Let me just make this line down. It keeps on tapping this zone, then rejects, taps it, it rejects. Here when it tapped it, it rejects, tapped it, it rejected, then closed above, then came back in, then came back now for a retest. I don't know if this is a retest or it's ranging here, it's about to consolidate. We don't know, but we just have to be reactive. This, remember, this is the monthly time frame. So this is all I'm seeing on the monthly time frame. Then I can further add this zone here where it rejected this support resistance zone. I mean this resistance zone which it's been playing around. So when we do that, we can say looks clean there. So we move to the weekly time frame. You know, don't make add too many things to your charts to confuse you. Just try and keep it as clean as possible and simple. Just mark out the most relevant and important zone. So I just, this key level, I just move it a bit up just for it to have more touches there, there and there. So this is where we are right now. And what else can I see? There's another zone where it failed to break above. There's this zone here. To me it's important because price came here, tapped, rejected and started a bullish trend, then came back and broke, retested it. Now it's either it's going to go down and make a lower low than this one, or reverse and break above this zone. So what else can we see? We now start to dig deeper. Can we see any other trend lines? I'm seeing this trend line where it's okay, it's not the cleanest on the weekly. We'll draw it properly on the daily. So we zoom out. What else can we see on the weekly? I think that's all. So we go now to the daily. So on the daily, I can see price. Remember, it made an impulse. I was anticipating actually to break above this, but that doesn't mean much volume for the dollar to break above this zone. So it's still failing to break above this zone. So we can even mark it with a zone just for more clarity on this. Yeah. So we can see that. Then what else can we see here? Is there another important key level? We can see price has been forming more of this minor trend line. So you can see that, yeah. So there's that zone there. Then I'm also seeing another important level there, because price came, tested here, tested, broke below, retested, came, tested there, and now this is where price is at. So if this was an impulse move, let me just zoom out. If this was an impulse move to the upside, remember price hasn't made a lower low than this one here. So it's a possibility that the dollar might be strong after the elections, but we'll see, because there's so much. This election is a bit different in the sense that Donald Trump has just been a bit different from other presidents and he's brought in more volatility. It might be a tie. If Joe Biden wins the elections, Donald Trump might deny to come out of power, and that will cause confusion for the dollar. But technically speaking, from what I'm seeing on my own point of view, I'm seeing this. If this was the impulse move and this was a correction move, it's most likely, if it doesn't break below this what's this 92.63, it's possible that the dollar will get some spikes somewhere, maybe to the bottom, then reject. Then now the dollar will start to be strong, because remember the dollar has been weak since March. Since March it's just been going down. Since March it's just been bearish. So we can anticipate for the dollar to start strengthening a bit, at least for some time. So we can actually extend this trend line to the upside if you want. You can see it's been finding resistance on this line. So if once it breaks out of this zone, it's either it comes down there, then we break out of this channel, we come there, and if there's more volume we can now start making higher highs, or reject that zone again and continue to the bottom, or we continue up. So that's my analysis on the dollar index, but we just have to be patient and wait and see what happens after the news. So dollar index. So let's move to another pair, which is Euro USD. Remember, if I'm seeing a buy on the dollar index, I should be seeing a sell on Euro USD, but or if I'm seeing a sell on dollar index, I should be seeing, because these are negatively correlated. So it's also something you can be doing when you're doing your analysis. So on Euro USD, as we can see, let's go to the monthly time frame. It's better to look at this on a higher time frame. So we can see something here on Euro USD. What's been happening here? What's been happening? So we can see Euro USD. It's at this level here. Let me just straight this line. There's this level here. Yeah, there's this level. It created this zone, more of a support zone. Support, broke below the support, came back for a retest, went down, now come back. This high hasn't made a higher high than this one, so we can take note of that. Let's see if there's any obvious trend lines there. No, we can say it's broken out of that one. And just it's not the cleanest, but well, what do you know? Yeah, look at that, beautiful. Yeah, so on Euro USD we can see price is finding a resistance on that trend line. And I just like to clone this and just, so we can see price has been moving in that channel. So what else can we see here? Let's dig deep and see. So this same zone here, where is it rejected? Yeah, last month, which was September, we closed bearish, but this month we're currently in, because I'm doing this video before November, we haven't yet closed this candle, so we don't know if it's going to close bearish or not. So you can also just mark out that level. Then I'm also going to mark out this important level where it spiked, because these levels to me are very important, where price just taps and goes the other direction. So this is all I'm seeing on the monthly. Let's go deeper and see what's happening on the weekly. So on the weekly, we can see price made an impulse, correction, impulse, but this correction hasn't been so clean, because the move down has been more impulse than the move up. So I'm anticipating this to be a correction, but let's zoom in and see things clearly. Then I also see this trend line where it's been finding some support. So I'm seeing that. So this is all I'm seeing on the weekly. So let's go to the daily now. This is where things get interesting now. So we can see the volume before elections has been quite slow. The candles, you look at the way they've been closing and look at how it was, the big moves here. Right now price is just moving 50 pips, 40 pips. I'm anticipating a big move after the elections or days before. So we can also see it's moving in that channel there, and it's failed to close above this zone. We can just mark that out as an important resistance. So I'm seeing this to be a correction, but I could be wrong. Price might spike above, continue up, then reject, then go down. But technically speaking, I'm seeing this as a corrective wave, because this move down was stronger than the move up. So once we break out of this channel, we might anticipate at least Euro USD to come to 1.1485, depending on what will happen after the elections, because like I said, this elections is different from the other previous US elections. So we just have to take note and see the current price action that we have, or the day you'll be announced, you just spike down and we'll miss the sales, but whichever way it goes, we'll see how we'll capitalize on that. But this is what I'm seeing on Euro USD. It can fail to break out of this and continue its move up, or tap this and take out everyone that sold, then later reject and continue down now, and then we'll have a strong dollar. So that's all I'm seeing on Euro USD. Let's go to gold. I've done a previous video on gold. I also attached it to this. My bias on gold has been sales. I haven't changed it yet. Reasons I stated in that other video, but I'll redo the analysis here, but I won't go deeper like the way I analyzed, so I'll suggest you watch that video. So on gold, it's at a very interesting point. Gold has been bullish since back in time, since 2001, because the dollar hasn't been doing so much fine. Even if it does, most investors choose to buy gold, and now it moved so much because of COVID. So when we look at gold, it's at its all-time high, just slightly above its all-time high. So we can mark out that level there. that it's failed to break above that. The past 2 months have been bearish, but this month hasn't closed. Remember, I'm doing this video just days before the election, so we're still in October. So that level there is very important. As you can see, this was a very impulsive move to the upside. So we go down to the weekly. What can we see here? Very interesting. So like you see, this big move, it dropped down, then has come back to retest. It's still playing around this level here. It's still, like I said in my previous video, I will only change my bias to buys on gold once I get a clear move to the upside and breaks above. As you can see here on the monthly time, sorry to take you back, this candle here, a doji candle, and this symbolizes that at least we should get a move to the downside. So I'm anticipating my bias still is the dollar being strong in the days to come, but that can change after the election. So let's see if there are any trend lines where it's finding support. Well, what do you know? Yes, look at that. So the next strong zone the dollar might come to, if it sells, it's this level here, because that's a level where I have deep structure. So that's all I'm seeing on the weekly. So let's go into the daily and see what's happening there. So remember what I was saying when we were looking at the previous elections, what happened? The volume has decreased now. As you can see, for the past few months, other people that don't look at the higher time frame, they know that gold has just been ranging. People have been scalping pips and buys more, but it hasn't had a clear move like this one where it's continuously going up or continuously going down. It's just been ranging and playing around this zone. So this is why it's important to wait and see what will happen after the elections, because gold, like I said, is largely affected by the US dollar. If the US dollar is strong, gold will sell, and if the US dollar is weak, gold will spike up and continue its move to the upside. So I can see this was an impulse move. This is still correcting this move. We don't know if it's going to close above 1922 or not, but for me, we'll see how this month the candle closes and how next month opens. So there's also this trend line where it was finding support or resistance, but this one is not the cleanest, so I'll just leave it out. So this is what I'm seeing on gold. I'm anticipating it's either it spikes up again because it's been playing around this zone for a long time, then maybe confuse people that it's going for buys, then later sell off. But my high probability is to the downside because of how it's been playing around here. But we'll see how that happens. It can spike to the bottom, then continue its overall bullish trend, because gold, the overall trend has been a bullish trend, and it's always better to stick to the overall trend with any pair, but at times it will retrace. So we just have to keep waiting and see what happens after the elections or days just before the elections. But gold is also another pair to look at. So let's go to the last pair which we look at is USD JPY. So with USD JPY, I barely trade this pair, so forgive me if I waste I take a bit of time on analyzing it here. So USD JPY is largely affected by the Japanese economy, because Japan USD. So yeah, let's look at that. So on the monthly time frame, as you can see, it's been bearish since back in time. You can say it's been in a bearish trend. Okay, no, this was an impulse move. This was more of a corrective move. Maybe we can expect an impulse to start now after the elections, because elections just take place every after 4 years. So I can see that important zone there. We'll mark it out. I can see that important zone there. It made its impulse move in 2012. Now it's been correcting. So who knows, maybe something good might happen for this pair and it starts going bullish after this election. So that's all I'm seeing on the monthly time frame. I don't want to draw much. Let's go deeper to the weekly and see what's been. So we zoom out. So do we see any obvious trend lines or zones? Yes, I do see something. Let me mark out this zone. This zone is very important to me, because every time price touched this area, it rejected, touched this area, it rejected, touched this area, it rejected. When it touched and broke below this area, it still came back in and tested it and went above. So this is why we're playing around, you know. So this is a very important key level. You can draw it as a zone or a trend line, it doesn't matter. A zone, a support or resistance zone, doesn't matter. So I'm also seeing that trend line there, that why it's been finding resistance. So overall, USD JPY has been bearish since 2017, you know. So after we see that, what else can we see? It's forming more of a triangle pattern. I don't know if you're seeing the same thing. So let's focus on the most recent price action. What can we see? Price is not the cleanest. Impulse to the downside, corrective, impulse, corrective, impulse, corrective. So it's more of making a small channel there. You know, you can draw trends in trends, you know. In the bigger trend line, there are also small trend line, you know. So I'm also seeing that. So let's dig deeper to the daily and see daily. So on the daily, this is where things get interesting now. So now, currently, as I'm looking at this, this is the area that I was telling you about, the area for sensitivity. We can just drop it to that level, you know, because there was a gap here. Whenever I see a gap, for me, these are important levels, especially when I see them on a higher time frame. These areas, the areas of sensitivity. Price rejects them at times or fails to break below them easily. You can see here it's been trying to break this zone since July. It came back again. Months later, tried. So now it's here. So it can break below, then continue up. We'll see. But it's forming more of a triangle pattern. So on this one, I would say, because this candle hasn't yet closed, this is the current candle as I'm doing this video. So it's either it rejects this level, breaks below, plays around, then comes back above, or if not, the dollar is going to be weak and it's going to continue going bearish. But you should take note of this level. It's very important for it to spike below, then continue up. You know, trading, we just have to be reactive, or it to go to tap maybe this area, then this is the area we're going to be expecting to take some buys. So I'm actually done. So in conclusion, we're coming to the end of the video. So in conclusion, I would advise everyone to take caution when it comes to these upcoming elections, because we don't know who the winner is. Whoever becomes the winner, us as traders, we have to just use our technical information. I did some backtest in the beginning of the video, just to show you it's important to look up, especially when it comes to fundamental events. Fundamentals now are not happening the way they used to be, so there might be some change. So I'd advise you to take caution if you're going to be in trades. You know, when this trade, even if your stop loss is here, it's most likely to skip your stop loss, because this candle usually happens when the market is closed. So I'd advise you to monitor your accounts and trade with caution, and let's see how we can catch some pips as the US elections come. So it's your boy 808. It's bye for now, and please remember to like, share and subscribe. It really does help the creation of more educational content like this. And also don't forget to check out my other videos, and I'll see you in the next one.